Welcome everyone to Little Tokyo 2's new podcast series From Startup to Growup. We offer short, sharp 20-minute overviews and interviews of successful founders, as well as 40-minute extended founder interviews with successful people who have graduated from LT2. I'm your host, founder and CEO of LT2, Jock Fairweather. This week, we interview Adam Stone from Speedlancer, who has been an entrepreneur his entire life and is the current CEO and founder of Speedlancer, known as the best marketplace for freelance agents online. Please enjoy. Hey Adam, how you doing?
Good. How are you, Mr. Jock?
I'm very good. So you're the CEO and founder of Speedlancer?
At least that's what my mum tells me.
And were you doing anything before Speedlancer?
Yes, I have always run businesses since I was 12 years old.
12?
12. Indeed.
Such as?
My first business, can't call it a company, I was selling, we were living in the States as a family, and I was selling BB guns on eBay. So I had a whole armory in my basement of these things, under my dad's name, so all like barely legal, but legal nevertheless. Then we moved back to Australia when I was 14, and I decided to start a new company which was in the mobile phone unlocking space. So if your phone is with one network and you want to take it overseas or move providers, you could go through us.
Are you Australian originally?
Yeah. So that company did pretty well. We had 140,000 paying customers.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It was a good outcome.
First of all, how did you sell the BB guns? Was it just through eBay?
Just through eBay.
And it was literally people that were just going into eBay looking up BB guns?
And some of my friends.
Okay.
But mainly.
How many BB guns did you sell?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure.
A lot?
Yeah, my dad tells me I had a package going out every day. So like probably one a day, so probably a couple $100 a week profit.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then with the unlocking business?
I mean, at its peak, we were doing like 150 sales a day.
Nice.
Yeah.
And you were 14?
Yeah.
Wow. What do your parents do? Do you have some sort of entrepreneurial background?
Yeah, my dad is an entrepreneur. He had a company. That's why we moved to the US. So he had a joint venture and then sold it. So we moved back to Australia. That was really cool because I grew up, like, I suppose, middle class or like lower middle class. And then got to see the whole entrepreneurial story unfold as I grew up.
Literally.
Yeah. And then Dad sold the business, and I sort of saw that kind of win that way. And then Dad became an investor in the Melbourne startup ecosystem.
Sure.
One of the first started Angel Cube.
Sure.
Over there. So yeah, I've always grown up around an entrepreneurial family.
Yes.
So that must have helped, I guess, in some way.
I bet it did.
Yeah, Dad was always there, is always there for advice when I need it. It doesn't push me to do anything.
Yeah.
Sort of like I had the passion as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After the unlocking business?
Then I started Speedlancer, sort of at the same time.
Oh, okay.
The unlocking business, I had a lot of experience with outsourcing. We had a team in the Philippines and India. And I used platforms like Upwork, which are Odesk and Elance back then, and Freelancer and Fiverr, you name it. Noticed some problems with those platforms.
Like what?
Like what problems?
Yeah.
The whole recruiting process is just fundamentally flawed. I don't think that for hiring people overseas for a project, you should have to go through a whole recruiting process and managing people. I think that's a waste of time. If you're hiring someone full-time overseas, then these platforms are great. But for project-based work, platforms like...
You're trying to skip all of that?
Yeah. At Speedlancer, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me about Speedlancer then.
So yeah, that's basically what we do. Basically, instead of requiring a whole hiring process, we skip that entire process. Everything from the recruiting to the managing of freelancers and the interviewing them and the bidding process, that's all cut out. Specifically with the management, we cut that out as well, using our process which we call bundles. So bundles is something that's unique to Speedlancer, and we're the first to market with this. Basically, it's a workflow system. So we will execute a whole campaign or a whole workflow of freelance tasks by collaborating a team of different freelancers together effectively. And still there's no recruiting, no managing, no bidding for any of these freelancers. And not only do you get one, you get actually a whole team of different people, so you get the benefits of different people's strengths collaborating together. Yeah, exactly.
So give me an example of a project that a client would come to you with.
So we do a lot of...
And how that would run.
Sure. So our main focus is marketing and sales type work for the moment. A big one that we do is content marketing, and I think that's because we do it really well. So we actually break it down into its fundamental steps, or at least that's what we believe. So the first step is the planning phase. So we'll come up with a content calendar of like 20 topics for the client to choose from. The customer can go back and forth with their freelancer. Then we do the research phase. So that's done by US-based virtual assistants, and all they do is researching the subject matter for each post. And after that, the client will approve that, and then we go to the writing phase. And then the writing is done up based on the research, and then we can add on things like design. So that's a pretty good example, one of our more popular ones. But we do anything from sales to animation videos.
And what's the model? Like, how do I pay for that bundle?
So you basically just buy it on the website, and then we basically just deliver the whole workflow automatically.
It's like a bundle of 20 blog posts or something.
So that we come up with 20 topics, you choose 4, and then we write the 4.
4?
Yeah.
Okay. How much for 4?
It's $473 US.
Sure.
It's a odd pricing because it's derived from the sum of the prices of the task underneath.
Yeah. Awesome. So how many users do you guys have currently?
We've had 1,600 clients to date, but that came from, we've had a big product journey. So we've come from just doing tasks, which were delivered in 4 hours. It's funny, everyone remembers us as the 4-hour platform.
Yeah.
Somehow. I don't know how. I don't even know where that comes from. It's barely on the website.
Yeah.
But people who come to the website now still somehow see the little 4-hour slogan on some of the tasks.
Sure.
And then that's what they remember.
Sure.
It's quite funny. So yeah, they came from tasks, and then we moved to bundles, and now we've moved to kind of a recurring revenue subscription model. So you can kind of buy whatever you want within the credits that you purchase.
What problems did you face with the 4-hour model?
That's what I thought was really going to work. I thought, if we can get to 150 sales a day, that would be bigger than my previous company, which would be quite a decent size. And I didn't think we'd have any problems getting there because, unlike phone unlocking, people actually need this every day. So I just thought it was going to be massive. Like you have 100 clients using us for 10 times each day. That's just huge. Or 1 time a day, or whatever it is. But that's just not the way it works. For some reason.
Was the problem delivering on the 4 hours?
No, the problem, we were doing everything great, really high satisfaction. It was quite a weird one. Like customers would repeat. I think we had a third of customers repeating organically within 2 weeks of placing their first order.
Wow.
But for some reason, things weren't just taking off. I think if you look at it as a kind of recurring kind of thing, you need customer acquisition to be higher than your churn. And I think that just wasn't happening. It was kind of like even. So we were stuck for about a year at like this moderate, very tiny revenue level.
Sure.
Which is unfortunate. But that's just the way it worked.
Do you think an issue that you find with your model generally is just that it's kind of transactional? Maybe there's a benefit to the recruitment process that you actually build trust and longevity with a freelancer on freelancer.com?
So that's something that we encountered, and one of the things that sort of changed our model in the last year is introducing a recurring revenue plan, which we call the concierge plan. The idea of that is we add the client to Slack, we give them a project manager, so they still have that one point of contact. They don't feel like they're losing out on the personal touch of hiring a freelancer. Instead, they've got this project manager who they liaise with, and that person becomes the interface for our tasks and bundles and and everything else that they need done.
I like that.
So that's a model that we found to work well and have pretty low churn, which is nice. And we've introduced a new subscription model, which is called the task subscription. That's $99 a month of credit. And that gives customers access to just tasks, like one-off 4-hour tasks. And we've doubled the prices of our ad hoc tasks. So clients can now choose ad hoc, which isn't really a choice, or getting to the subscription mindset, pay $99 a month, no contract, credit rolls over until you cancel, for $99 a month. And then we pull leads from that into our concierge plan, which is a $500 a month plan. But it's $500 of credit to spend on the platform.
Sure. So I've got a question regarding the researching you mentioned and the blog content gets written. I generally write the majority of our blog posts because we want to provide like really legitimate and current information. Like we basically give away all of our IP about how we manage the members or how we do negotiation and so on. And in order to deliver, that kind of value, I almost feel like I have to do it, or one of us has to do it because we are actually doing it and have the experience. Is there a way that your researchers may be able to replicate what I'm able to say in that sort of context?
Yeah, so I think in terms of content marketing, it's very important to have an authentic voice and your own personal voice coming into that. So we can do research behind posts. This is for clients who need to write on a broad variety of topics to suit their client base. That doesn't necessarily require a specific person's voice within their company. So in your case, it might be, tell us about the recent government initiatives going on in the Queensland startup scene, and you might give a resource like the Queensland Entrepreneurs website, and then they would use that as a research source, come up with like the subject matter, which would then be written. So that's an example of something that wouldn't require your voice at all, but would still be informative for your audience. Where you have something to say, you would either write it yourself, or if you're trying to do this in bulk, you can't sit there all day just writing content.
No.
So something that we've done, and for some of our clients, is the founder or whatever will write like a summary or blurb of what they're trying to say, all the important stuff, and then a few examples of what they've written before. And because our writers are all published, for very large publications, they kind of know how to match styles. So that's something that we find works pretty well as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So you've had, could we call them pivots or just product evolutions throughout Speedlancer?
I'd say they're more evolutions rather than pivots, but I'm open to it being called a pivot if you prefer. Okay,
sure. And have you found that a struggle?
No, and that's probably the reason it's not really a pivot. It's more of an evolution. It just, all of these changes made perfect sense, at least to me, based on what we were hearing from clients. So it wasn't scary to do anything, because we weren't going into something before we tested it, for example. So our bundles we tested before we automated it. We delivered probably a dozen of them, or a couple of dozen of them, just manually.
Yes.
So we would sell the bundle, and then we would go and execute the task in a certain order.
Manually.
And then we figured out that actually, okay, we do need to automate this because things are just falling to pieces. Project manager sleeps, and clients are getting frustrated. They were like, oh, well, why don't we just use an agency? And that's where we were like, okay, well, if we automate it and get this done in 3 days rather than 2 weeks, that just makes perfect sense.
And so you tested it in a manual way, I understand that, but how did you get feedback, and what kind of feedback were you looking for from those potential clients?
The main feedback we were looking for was what tasks they required in a bundle so that we could productize it the best way. So in a content marketing campaign, did they actually want the research? Did they want the topics? Did they want to supply their own topics? How many posts did they want in a bundle? How much were they looking to pay for it? Did they want graphics?
How did you ask those questions?
I think clients don't really know what they want, especially when you're selling to them. So we kind of just guessed and checked.
Okay.
So we would have something to pitch to them. They would say, oh, could you do it with graphics? And we were like, yeah, for this price. And they were like, either yes or no. We ended up splitting those bundles so you can get content marketing bundle or content marketing bundle with the graphics.
Sure.
So I think it's just a matter of sometimes guessing and checking and being smarter than your customers are. Well, not smarter, but trying to see what they need before they know what they need.
It's like a experimentation.
Yeah.
Sure. And what kind of major wins have you had since starting?
Major wins. I think we're still kind of getting there. I think we're just really, really getting started. I mean, Canva has always said, it's the funniest quote, we're only 1% of the way there, but it's funny that they've said that throughout the years. Like, I've just been reading their press articles, and it's always, we're 1% of the way there, and I just laugh.
Never heard.
Like, either the vision's like getting bigger and you're growing, or something weird is happening. You haven't grown the product.
How many percent are you there?
Well, if by their logic they're 1% of the way there, then we're probably 0.1% of the way there.
Sure.
Which is probably the likely answer, actually.
I see.
Yeah.
And do you think that they're like laterally competition for you, or do you look at places like Freelancer and Odesk directly?
I think Canva should use us as a partner, because even if their design tool is super easy and good, like easy to use, doesn't mean that you have a design eye and know how to make it match your business.
That's right.
So I think having a designer to actually design the template first is important, and then Canva's an awesome tool from there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think, for serious companies looking for design and serious designers who are looking to design, I think it doesn't always really work, but they're 1% of the way there. So
that's right.
Hopefully they improve. But we do offer a Canva design service on our website.
Sure.
So, if you need Canva design, you just click that button, and these designers are forced to work in Canva.
Yeah.
So we've had some decent success with that.
Sure. But they'd rather use something like Illustrator.
Yeah, a good designer will always prefer to use their own tools. I don't know why. Like I say, Canva is super easy. You can do some awesome work with it. You can do things in Illustrator and then import them layer by layer. And that's better for clients. I mean, if we could do that for every task, that would just be awesome.
Sure.
So yeah, I like Canva as a tool.
And so where do you want to take Speedlancer?
I want to take it into enterprise, I would say, and get more focused on business operations and really understand what processes companies need done that we can just execute for them. Sure. With a one click. And using our task routing mechanisms, which have had really high success. Like we get between 94.9 and 97.4% customer satisfaction on every task. So that's a 4 out of 5 rating or above.
Sure.
So that's pretty high. Yeah. And that's without having any recruiting process at all from the customer's perspective. So it kind of disproves early naysayers who said, no, there's no way you can have success without me picking my own freelancer.
Yes.
And I said, that's ridiculous.
I'd rather not pick my own freelancer.
Yeah, and I think that's where the world will head. Yes. And we've actually been in the trust business for a long time. Making sure that our platform is a trustworthy name, but hopefully not like an agency where you only trust us. It's more like you need to trust us that we will connect you with the right person, and then guarantees in place that if that doesn't happen, we've got your back. And that's quite a challenging thing to convey. But yeah, to answer your question, like enterprise, different verticals, things that clients need on an ongoing basis every week.
What kind of thing would an enterprise need?
Think of any department within an enterprise. They'll all have different processes that they need delivered. Within marketing there's a few, within sales there's a few, and those are the ones that we've been focusing on. So that's some examples, I guess, already there.
Fantastic. And so if you were going to tell yourself something before or just when you started Speedlancer, what would it be?
I would think about the distribution channels first, and that's something I learned when we went through 500 startups in 2015. Something I never thought about before. I just thought if you build a good product, people will come and they'll repeat and they'll stay. Yeah. And turns out that's just not true. I think what's more important is having a distribution channel. I'd even go as far as to say as entrepreneurship courses in university shouldn't teach you how to build a product or how to build a service, but should rather teach you how to build a community. Because once you've got a community of people, you can then interview them, build a product that they need, and then build from there. But at least you've got, like, if you've got a solid community, that's $1 million business right there.
That's some awesome advice, dude. I really appreciate it.
No worries.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
And that's it for another week with our podcast series From Startups to Growups. If you enjoyed that, you can find out more about Little Tokyo 2 on www.littletokyo2.com, and you can find more of our podcasts on soundcloud.com/Little Tokyo 2. Thank you, and speak to you next week.